everyone has at least one irrational fear, if not more. On the other hand, a real phobia goes far beyond the normal amount of nervousness. There are additional ones that are more unusual and therefore more challenging for humans to deal with. In this video, we'll show you the top 10 most bizarre phobias you can ever think of.
Welcome to Hear This. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Number 10. Sesquipedalophobia, fear of long words. Sesquipedalophobia is the shocking phobia of long words and phrases. The fact that some people also have hippopotomonstros sesquipedalophobia, the fear of very long words, only adds salt to the wound. There are plenty of people who agree with you that it's a bit petty to give the phobia the same name as the thing someone is afraid of. The name Ibophobia is itself a palindrome, a type of word that can be read in either direction. The irrational fear of the number 12 is known as dodecaphobia, and it is expressed in a whopping 12 words. Number 9. Nomophobia, fear of being without your mobile. Has the loss of your phone ever caused you to freak out? Do you worry about being helpless if you lose your phone signal? If so, you may suffer from nomadphobia. The term nomophobia is coined to describe the fear of being without a mobile phone. The term was first used in a research report from the United Kingdom Postal Office in 2008. Researchers found that 53% of over 2,100 adults surveyed were nomophobic. Anxiety sets in when people worry about what will happen to them if they misplace their phones, their batteries die, or they are in an area without cell phone service. The number of apps downloaded onto a smartphone can increase dramatically. In 2016, a man tied the knot with himself. Not like this before, at least. Nomophobia was first coined in 2010 by the United Kingdom Post Office to describe people's fear of being separated from or unable to use their mobile phones. Even though nomophobia isn't a technical term, Nomo stands for no mobile phone, its use has increased as researchers have delved deeper into the topic of technology addiction. Nomophobia is also known as telephone separation anxiety because of its increasing absence as its addictions worsened. Researchers have found that time spent away from our smartphones can have profound effect on our sense of self. Number 8. Umphalophobia, fear of navels. People who suffer from umphalophobia have an extreme aversion to the act of removing and replacing their belly buttons. Even if it can be traced back to traumatic experiences in childhood, the root of this apprehension is unclear. Nonetheless, the umbilical cord has been suggested by some to have significance. Since the umbilical cord is the entry point for all your nutrients while you're in the womb, touching it can cause an irrational fear of harm. No evidence, however, exists to back up this claim. In 2015, Khloe Kardashian tweeted that she was so grossed out by the thought of touching her own belly button, making her a high-profile example of the fear. Number 7. Turophobia, fear of cheese. The fear of cheese is unfounded. It makes no difference if the cheese is fresh or aged, if it comes from France or Spain, or if it is the finest Manchego or the unrivaled Zamorano. Yes, of course, some people actually have a fear of this tasty and healthy food, which may sound counterintuitive at first. The mere presence of cheese, whether in the form of aroma, sight, taste, or thought, can cause a panic attack in some people. Some researchers have linked this to people who are lactose intolerant, while others believe it is related to people who have experienced trauma while eating this food. Number 6. Phobophobia, fear of having a phobia. The original root of phobophobia is the Greek word for fear, phobos. There are a number of phobias that are commonly associated with agoraphobia, including nosophobia, the fear of getting sick, claustrophobia, the fear of closed spaces, and agoraphobia, the fear of being trapped or of open areas. Many people who suffer from phobias have an irrational fear of public humiliation or anxiety attacks, which they associate with various situations. It seems that some people just can't relax. As its name suggests, Fear of fear occurs when the very thought of experiencing fear, such as the signs of a panic attack, causes intense anxiety. Number 5. Componophobia, fear of buttons. To be afflicted with componophobia is to have an irrational fear of, or aversion to, buttons, which is the case for some people. The plastic buttons appear to be the primary culprit for the uncomfortable texture of these garment details. Those made of metal tend to have less of a problem with this. Steve Jobs was notoriously terrified of buttons, and not just on his clothes, hence his signature long collars. Maybe it was his aversion to buttons that led to the revolutionary touchscreen design of the iPhone. Childhood trauma can play a role in the maturation of phobias, in much the same way it does in the formation of other anxiety disorders. One person was bullied because they couldn't button their clothes, and another had a bucket of buttons fall on their head when they were 2 years old, both of which could be considered traumatic experiences that led to the development of componophobia. It's possible that a child who chokes on one of these objects will develop a lifelong fear of them. Number 4. Chatophobia, fear of hair. There are two kinds of hair phobia. One involves one's own hair, and the other involves the hair of other people. Maybe you're not eating because you're too preoccupied with the prospect of finding a hair in your cereal, or a strand of fur on your couch. The infection can even travel to the hair of animals. Chatophobia is the intense aversion to hair, and is estimated to affect around 1% of the population. This condition is more common in people who obsess over cleanliness. Experiencing trauma, such as being teased as a child because of a bad haircut or having an unpleasant encounter with head lice, can also contribute to this condition. While it's true that any phobia can have an impact on day-to-day life, chatophobia can have a particularly devastating effect on one's ability to socialize or form meaningful relationships. Number 3. Coulrophobia, fear of clowns. The fear of clowns is known as coulrophobia. Some people find clowns frightening, and Robert Gerstmann details why. You can't tell a clown's true feelings from his or her painted-on expressions, he says. If a clown wears a painted smile but acts disgruntled, his brain receives conflicting messages. You're uneasy because this throws off his routine. Clowns have become a common villainous figure in popular culture. They avoid events like Halloween parties, birthday parties, carnivals, and fairs. Some people associate clowns with fun and laughter, while others associate them with fear. Fearful characters with large shoes and bright outfits have been used by actors like Daniel Radcliffe and Johnny Depp. Number 2. Taphaphobia, fear of being buried alive. In case you are wondering, taphaphobia refers to the irrational fear of being buried alive. Thanatophobia, plactophobia, coimetrophobia, and claustrophobia are all related phobias of death and associated objects, claustrophobia. The fear of tombs inspired the creation of the term taphaphobia, which combines two Greek words, deep fear. When he died in 1799, George Washington asked that his burial be put off for 3 days. It was reasonable to be afraid of being buried alive in previous centuries. When people died before the advent of modern medicine, there was no sure way to prove it. As a result of the inaccuracy, many people were buried alive. Occasionally, this was averted by waiting a few days for the bodies to decompose. This isn't the whole story. Other methods included cutting off the heart or head, sticking needles under the fingernails, or snorting ammonia. A patent was submitted for a unique type of coffin with an alarm system in the 19th century. Poe, Washington, Chopin, and Anderson are just a few famous people who struggled with anxiety. It consumed Poe to the point where he wrote extensively about his phobia, the premature burial and the cask of Amontillado, as well as the fall of House of Usher. Number 1. Selenophobia, fear of the moon. One is said to suffer from selenophobia if you have an irrational fear of the moon. Some people are afraid of the moon because they believe it will make people act irrationally or dangerously. As children, Many of us may have been traumatized by the stories of witches, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures prowling the night under a full moon. A person's onset of lunophobia has nothing to do with the moon's phase. Fear of a specific phase of the moon is at the root of remophobia, also known as Selenophobia. Fears that have no basis in reality are not something to be ashamed of. It makes perfect sense that you are suffering from a phobia. Seek help from a mental health specialist if your fear of spiders is preventing you from getting a good night's sleep. As life-altering as phobias are, treatment is available through talk therapy, medication, or a hybrid of the two. Not even the fears that aren't here qualify as reasonable ones. You deserve a life where you can face your fears without worry, and that is exactly what you will get. Share with us your greatest phobia in the comments section below. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we have a new video. Thank you so much for watching.